as well. Would you look at that? That's some wizard editing. We bring him in now. Tone's takes. What's going on, Tone?
What's up, Jason? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How you been?
Good. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
You're having a good season, brother.
Yeah, it's been a good run so far. Hopefully we can pick it back up when the break is over, which is hopefully Monday. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I know you see the pause and you see so many teams getting paused. And for the handicapper and the people who like to get action on the NHL, it's been a little different because sometimes a team's been on a bit of a longer break than was planned. And, how are teams going to respond with so many players out? How have you found that affect you, kind of your ability to pick winners here?
Yeah, especially lately with the COVID protocols happening so late in the day. Guys, you kind of have to wait a little bit into the afternoon to see what's what, and maybe later for the for the West Coast games, especially with the props too. If you know a guy is out maybe on the top line, you have someone on the second line bumping up, moving up in that position, you can maybe look at their shot on goal prop or points prop or assist prop. So definitely an adjustment. You definitely don't want to put stuff in a little too early now with these protocols. So it's got to roll with the punches, right?
Yeah, once the season settles a little bit and we see less of this, it'll become, kind of back to the old way. Let me tell people about you real quick. You're born and raised in South Philly. You've been a Flyers fan your whole life, and you got into the handicapping and especially hockey. And your Twitter is at Tones Takes, and you're providing great stuff. How about this? Your props record on the season, 92-75, plus 26.83 units, and your overall NHL season record, 160, 153, and 7, plus 22 units. Plus $22 and 16 units. So, I mean, pretty damn good numbers, man. All things considered, especially.
Yeah, definitely. I started dipping in the props a little bit last season. I only did like smaller bets on them, kind of feel them out. And then this year I just started making every play one unit, and you can find a lot of plus money shot on goal props out there that are definitely worth it. You look at home road splits, the team's tendencies, especially shots against and things like that. There's a lot of information out there. So yeah, it's been doing pretty well with them. So hopefully we can keep it up.
Yeah, I love first to score and guys to score goals. I love that prop, and I like exact score, but the empty net goal thing always gets me on exact score.
Yep. Sometimes you get the empty net, or sometimes you don't. It seems like this year teams aren't shooting for that empty net.
Yeah,
as they recently have. I've been burned a couple times on not getting a 5.5 because of a 3-2 final. But
yeah,
that's part of it.
Yeah, and teams pull their goalie so early, and you go, "Oh my god, if they score this, I'm going to nail the exact bet at 4-2." And then the team just kind of doesn't go for it. I'm like, "What? Come on, you got to send it to 200 feet. I don't care if you get an icing."
Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk about some of the futures plays, because obviously the league's dark right now until coming up on the 27th. But let's start with some of the award winners and some of the odds there. Let's look at the Vezina, because this is an interesting one. Just talking to Kevin Kurz, we're talking about guys that could win the Vezina this year, and who's that going to be? Vasilevsky's a guy on a really good Tampa team. You look around the league at some of the top goaltenders. But right now, the one that maybe you like is Jack Campbell in Toronto. He was a guy that I really didn't believe in. Maybe it's just stylistically the way he plays. I don't love his game, but that team's a lot better defensively than a lot of people are giving it credit for this year. So you like Jack Campbell a little bit back there.
I do. He's been a stonewall for that team. He's 15-5-2 this year, 937 save percentage, 194 goals against. He's got 3 shutouts. He's had 17.4 goals saved above expected, which kind of shows that he kind of tidies up a little bit of the defensive lapses that Toronto still can have. I think if he keeps it up, I think he's going to be the difference with the Leafs this year, as opposed to Freddie Anderson, who just couldn't really embrace playing in Toronto for maybe it's the pressure or what, but you would have him give up the soft goal every once in a while. But Campbell has been an absolute stud so far for this year for them. I've cashed a couple save props on him this year. He's been very profitable.
Yeah, on Park Sportsbook. He's plus 650 to win the Vezina. It's nice. It's a nice number. It's a nice return. I guess the
Hmm.
guy that kind of stands in his way is probably Shesterkin.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Hopefully he can get healthy here. The Rangers, I mean, they're going to be on his shoulders. So between those two, I think those are definitely two good bets for the Vezina.
Yeah, and I'm always like tracking the Vezina because I love goaltending.
Yeah.
Shesterkin right now plus 500, Campbell against 650, Vasilevsky actually behind him at 700, and Markstrom out in Calgary is having a great year at plus 800. But 650 on Campbell, certainly some good value there. Let's talk about the Hart Trophy because this is the one that is a big one. It's the biggest trophy in the game, in my opinion. And
Mm-hmm.
McDavid and Draisaitl are just shredding right now, but maybe they fracture the vote a little bit again out in Edmonton. But there's
Mm-hmm.
a guy, 36 years old, who is just unbelievable, and he's not just scoring on the power play. He's chasing down a huge record in Wayne Gretzky's goal record. Alex Ovechkin at plus 400. To me, right now, he is the favorite. He's tied
Mm-hmm.
in odds with Draisaitl, but the odds favorite right now, plus 125, is McDavid. But I love this play that you have on Ovechkin.
Yeah, I mean he's been their horse this year with all the injuries. Backstrom's only played one game. Oshie's only played 14. Ovi's got 22 goals and he has 25 assists. Usually he has more goals than assists. He's a plus 18. He's put the Capitals on his back this year. A lot of people didn't think the Caps, thought the Caps were going to fall off a little bit this year, but which they could have. But Ovechkin has just been a monster this year.
Let's look at you look at the standings right now. We're not quite halfway through the season. For the most part, on average, 30 games in, so still 52 games to be played for most teams. And when you look out in the West and you look at that Central, some good teams there. Minnesota Wild have been a good team to start the year. Nashville surprised somebody with that goaltending of UC Saros. They've won 7 straight. Colorado's been kind of scuffling a little bit with
Mm-hmm.
they can score with McKinnon and McCarr, and they've had McKinnon was hurt for a period of time, and obviously Landeskog, and we'll see what they do at the deadline. But a team possibly to win the West is a team that won the cup a couple of years ago in dramatic fashion in St. Louis, and right now they're getting plus 1,000 to win the West.
Yeah, this is a team that really not a lot of people are talking about. They've had some injury problems this year. Haven't really had their full lineup, but they have a guy like Jordan Kyrou who's like a young spark plug for them. If Binnington can get back to his 2019 form, I think when this team they get Perron back, Schenchers came back a few weeks ago. They're fully healthy. I think they're a team who can make some noise in the West for sure. And at plus 1,000, I mean, they're definitely worth the flyer because they've done it before. They
Yeah.
did it in started out in January when they won the cup in 19. They got on that streak and then beat Boston in Game 7. So
Yeah, Gloria at the
yep,
South Philly bar.
go Philadelphia bar. Yep,
Yeah, that was
our
when Binnington.
contribution to the cup, I guess, right?
Yeah, Binnington just came in and that game against the Flyers, shut them out,
Shut him out. Yep, yep,
and then they would just went on that crazy run. And
yep,
I just saw a report today that Tarasenko still wants to be traded, but and he's having a great year. I mean, he's one of the
he is.
players of the week.
Yep.
Let's look at another team in the West because I was on TSN 1290 in Edmonton a couple of weeks ago when after the Flyers fired Alain Vigneault, and the host of the show asked me why the Flyers always fire coaches, and I took it a step further, Tone, and I said, why do NHL teams fire coaches? And I said because it works. And you
Yeah.
look at what's going on in Vancouver right now. How about the Canucks winning 6 straight after being a dumpster fire to start the year? They fire Travis Green. They bring in Bruce, who's done this before. Did it with Washington back in the mid 2000s to take them turn their season around, and looks like he's turning around right now. And I imagine this is kind of a soft play for you, but with a huge return, plus 5,000 for the Canucks to win the West with Thatcher Demko and Bruce Boudreau behind the bench.
Yeah, if they can get in, this team's going to make some noise. I like their makeup. I like their guys up front. They need to get Pedersen going. I like the Ekman Larson and Garland additions. Bruce has them playing very good hockey. 6-0, 3.5 goals per game, 1.7 goals against since he's been there. And Demko, he got on that run in the bubble in that Vegas series. He was just, I think there was a couple games he had maybe 50 saves.
Yeah.
So I'm high on him. He's one of the best young goalies in the league, I think. And if this team gets in, I think they can make some noise. So definitely a good, good long shot bet. But I mean, how often do we see teams who change coaches during the middle of the year make a cup run? So this is one team that I think can do it. Maybe the Jets too, but I think the Canucks are a decent bet if they get in.
Yeah, I would agree. And they're a team that, when Bruce gets there, his teams are going to score. And so
Mm-hmm.
much is predicated on Pedersen and Hughes and
Yep.
all those guys. And he will get a lot out of them. Bruce does a
Yep.
real good job with that. He's gone to a conference final in
Yep.
Anaheim. So we'll see if they can, get in and really, they're not going to be a team that anybody wants to play. Let's look at the East because, one of the teams that's in the Metro wasn't in the same division with the Flyers and the Caps and the Pens last year in the Mass Mutual East, but it's Carolina. They're back. Brindamore's obviously back. They're off to a great start. I think structurally, Tone, they're one of the best teams in the league. They are what they are. They bring in Freddie Anderson to solidify that goaltending position, and he's done really well. They're sitting in the top spot right now in the Metro, tied with the Caps in points, but 2 games in hand. I'm surprised the Canes are only plus 700. That the odds aren't, the return would be lessened for them to win the East, but they look like a team not only that can do it, but is built to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love their style of play. They're a very tough team to play against. Like if I'm looking at like a player prop for like a shot on goal or something like that, I will not bet that player if they're playing the Hurricanes. It's just their puck possession style. Recently, the weakness has been their goaltending with Mrazek and Nedeljkovic. Freddie Anderson's off to a great start. Hopefully, he can sustain it. If he can, I think this team is a good bet to win the East. You look at they've lost to Boston and Tampa the past 3 years in the playoffs. Those teams aren't as deep this year anymore. So I think if they come across Tampa Bay in a playoff series, I think the Canes are going to be able to handle them this year. And a lot of times when you expect a team to get to the finals like Carolina the past few years, it gets to a point where when people don't expect them to win, that's when they do it, So yeah. I like the Canes so far in the East, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, what do you look at with a team like Toronto? Because they have the best odds or the worst odds in a way, plus 350 to win the East. But we know Toronto has not won a playoff series in a long time. And every year you look at it, you go, how this team looks different this year. They look better. They are better defensively. We talked about Jack Campbell. When you look at Toronto, I mean, it's going to be just tough to come out because you're going to have to deal with Tampa in there as well. And they look poised, Tampa, to be the representative of the Eastern Conference again and try and win a 3rd straight cup. Those two teams
crazy. Yeah.
could be just an absolute war if they were to meet up.
Yeah, it would definitely be an entertaining series for sure. It's wide open, both sides, East and West. The league is wide open this year. The Leafs, I mean, yeah, they've had their playoff problems coming up, but I'm high on Campbell. I think he can be the difference for them. And then who knows, maybe they'll make some additions at the deadline. So we'll see what happens.
What do you think of the Flyers odds in the division to make the playoffs? Let me look at it right now. I'm looking on the Park Sportsbook app. When you look at the Metro, they're not going to win the Metro, but I mean, their math is not that difficult. Kevin Kurz just said that when we had him on who covers the Islanders, that the math is really difficult for the Islanders to make the playoffs, and it probably is because they're so far back and they had that 11-game winless skid. But the Flyers only 4 points back, but Boston's in between with some games in hand. Is the math too difficult for the Flyers to make the postseason, in your opinion?
I mean, I still think they can get on a run. I thought they were going to have a good year coming in. I mean, Hart has looked great this year. They still have to shore up their defense, but hopefully they get Ellis back, and he does that. I love the Atkinson acquisition, kind of giving them a little bit of a spunk up front. So I mean they've been playing well under Yo. They've been scoring goals. So they're definitely still in the mix. I think. Yeah. Definitely still in the mix. So.
Yeah, that month of January is going to really tell the tale, and they don't have the brutal schedule that they had. I mean, that schedule they had was just during the 10-game winless skid. I mean, it was insane.
Yeah, they just got to beat the teams that they should beat, and then go from there. I mean, they do match up pretty well with some of the teams in their division. They always play Washington well. They usually hang in with Pittsburgh. The Islanders give them fits, but Carolina, they've hung with Carolina. They beat them already in Carolina. So, if they can get going, I still think I don't think they're going to win a division, like you said, but they can still get into that last playoff spot. Because Detroit, I think, has that last playoff spot right now, which I think they're going to fall off. So,
yeah, I can't. That doesn't look sustainable in Detroit to me in any way, shape, or
right.
form. 5 games in hand. I think Boston's only 2 points back and 5 games in hand on Detroit. So they're not going to hang there. I don't think Columbus is going to hang around in the picture that much longer either. You're starting to see that separation.
They can't keep the puck out of their own net. They're scoring goals, but they can't keep the puck out of their own net. So,
yeah. Tone, this was awesome, man. Tones Takes. Follow him on Twitter at Tones Takes, TONES Takes on Twitter, and we'll be looking for your picks there. And we're going to talk again soon, Tone. Best luck cashing them. And once the game gets going again, get back on the ice. We'll look at individual games and some props in game and stuff like that. We appreciate the time. Have a great holiday, man.
Thanks, man. You too. Appreciate it, Jason. Take care.